to Body Bags, presented by the Kokomo Lantern. My name is Jeremy Geiger. I'm one of the co-owners and funeral directors here at City of First. And here we are, we're in the month of October, and I just want to kind of share some things through these next few episodes that may have a little bit of a spookier twist to it, or things that kind of relate towards that spookier season. So in our culture, we typically would think of something like Memorial Day, where we would go to the cemetery to honor our dead, maybe clean up the burial grounds. You may even do a balloon release or light a candle, just some way to remember that person. And in other cultures that typically fall into the September-October range, one that is very popular that most of us know is Day of the Dead in the Hispanic culture, where they spend 3 days, October 31st through the 2nd, honoring their dead. They do the painted masks, and there's altars that they build. There's just different ways of memorialization that our culture maybe doesn't experience or utilize, because we do things a little bit differently. But outside of the Hispanic community, we see in the Buddhist community, they have something that takes place in September through October called Pitchbin. It's an actual federal holiday where they get some time off, but they have religious rituals where they're singing and chanting and prayers that take place during these times to honor and respect their loved ones and to help guide them through to the other side. Another Thai holiday would be Loy Krathong, and this is where they do more things with the water, where they're creating wreaths that are released into streams, rivers, and ponds in hopes of new beginnings, in homage and memory of those that they lost. So it's definitely interesting when we get to this time of the year. Most people in the United States, or ones that I talk to or deal with, it's more of the ghoulish, spookier, creepy side of October and Halloween, and I always enjoy when I hear of different cultures having a different twist on that season, where they're more of a celebration of happiness, new beginning, and memory. So those are some different things about that Halloween season. I know that when we deal with like Memorial Day, I see more cookouts, the cleaning of the grave, like I mentioned, but nothing where we're like releasing like the wreath with the Thai holiday into the water for a sign of new beginning. Being here in the United States, when I feel something like that, I think we see like planting maybe forget-me-nots in the spring that come up, and you can enjoy them through the summer. Some of those families also would maybe bury a tree. So that could be grown into something magnificent and you can enjoy over the years, but nothing quite like I see in some of these other cultures and traditions. Even some of them will take the deceased out of their tomb. They're kind of like mummified, and they will redress them every year. They may keep them out of their tomb for a day or two during these full celebrations to honor their family and heritage. I would like to see what maybe some of the responses are here in the United States. I think it would be startling, in my opinion, to some of those that maybe are having a tough time with that grief process and the closure of it. To see them come back out of that grave might give them some bad memories, bad thoughts, not necessarily the transition into new life and memorialization that would be taking place in these other cultures. So there are things that maybe we could look at and learn in our society from other groups that would be very productive in our healing process through the grief and loss of a close friend or a loved one. Is there wrong ways that you could celebrate somebody's passing? Sure. But I think it's all within taste and within reason. Each one of us is a little bit unique and has different ways that we do things or celebrate. So it may not be your liking, it may be to their liking, and you're just following these wishes through. Another neat thing coming up here in our area is it's not been around for, I hear, about 17 years. We're going to have a cemetery walk at Crown Point Cemetery put on by the Kokomo Historical Society. The ones that I've done in the past in Cincinnati, it was really cool to kind of do those cemetery walks. They stopped at different graves of significant influence in that area. They may have been a political figure. They may have been a philanthropist who just contributed well to the community. There were also some celebrities that I seen that were buried at those cemeteries in Cincinnati. But then you also learned about some of the accessories or amenities to this cemetery, and you're learning about how they chose certain plants that would flower in different seasons, the trees that they chose to plant. It's not necessarily this is our oldest grave, boo, spooky season. It's more of an introduction to what your community's history is. And to hear that it's coming back for Kokomo after 17 years, I'm really excited. I know Kim's pretty excited to be a part of that. It's coming up in the next week. So that's something really interesting. When you're on Facebook or in your own community, look for these events. They're great opportunities to take your family out or go out for yourself just to see the history that's in some of these cemeteries, because you can see different trends when there was different sicknesses that plagued our country in those deaths, whether it was influenza or polio. You can see some of those dates where there were a lot of times people didn't have a long lifespan and they were dying in their 40s. So it's kind of interesting to see, looking at the monuments while you're out there, to see the styles, how they've changed. In my opinion, I think they were more Gothic in the 1800s, where you were seeing more of the pillars and the columns and stuff, whereas today we're more tablet styled markers out there at the cemetery. So that was pretty cool to see come up on my Facebook feed, and we jumped right on that to make sure we were a part of it and supported the Kokomo Historical Society. I don't know much about what we're going to see out there at the cemetery, but I know they've got some really good stories to be told out there. So that's kind of some of the things that I wanted to talk to you about to start for Halloween season in the month of October. So let's jump into maybe one of my spookier, scary stories for you on a removal. So here it is. It's Halloween. It is raining, kind of transitioning into snow. If you're from this area, you know that Halloween's a crapshoot. It's either going to be freezing cold and crummy weather, or it's going to be blazing hot and you can't be comfortable. But lately we've been on that cold trend. So here it is. It's super cold, and I took my daughter out trick-or-treating. We're going around the neighborhood. I learned a long time ago, don't wear face paint. Always choose your costume where you can take it off, because as a funeral director, you never know when you're going to have to leave and you can't get cleaned up. So We're trick-or-treating, we finish up, we get back to the house, we decide to hand out some candy, and I get the infamous death call. Hey Jeremy, I've got a notification for you. Mrs. Smith passed away, and John's gonna meet you over at the funeral home. So I get to change in, get prepared, drive over to the funeral home. John shows up. John didn't learn the lesson about makeup. He was at a Halloween party. He was dressed up as a vampire. So he had some red still going down his cheeks from the blood. He's got darked out eyes. I'm going, John, this isn't good, buddy. We got to try to get you cleaned up a little better than that. So we get some washcloths, get them all cleaned up, what I thought was well enough. We get to the house. Thank goodness. They were also somewhat dressed up. They were planning on going out later for an adult party, but they could tell John had makeup on at some point. So then the jokes started flying. Oh, were you trying on the mortuary makeup? Were you trying to play dead? And it was pretty funny. John got pretty embarrassed. No, I was a vampire. Look, here's the pictures from the party that I was at. And they thought, oh, okay, yeah, it's good. So life lesson is those that may be interested or working at a funeral home, be prepared. You never know what's going to happen. Get you a plastic mask. Pop that off. You can change clothes much quicker than you can try to get some of that makeup off of you. The family had a really good heart about it. When it came time for the visitation, they even brought John a little goodie bag since he got called out from his Halloween party, so he got some candies and treats out of it. But it's always interesting to see maybe some of the interactions around the holiday time. I typically will hear more jokes or puns about spooky ghosts and spirits. But it's not always the negative side to it. I think to keep a light heart, you can keep a good attitude and a joke with them about some of the spooky season that's upon us. So this concludes my episode today, and this was brought to you by the Kokomo Lantern, and this concludes my services. Thank you.